It's spring and the cherry blossoms are in full bloom. It's beautiful outside. Only today is probably going to be the last day of the cherry blossoms to be able to be seen, because it's a rainy day and so we couldn't go out. We couldn't take you to the cherry blossoms and just do our video there. We decided to do it inside, and here we are. Welcome to the Tea Crane. I'm Tyas Sosen, and this time around I want to address some of the questions that we got from you through Instagram. If you have questions for me about tea, my life, tea ceremony, anything, always feel free to send them via email, send them to me on Instagram, or leave them as a comment below this video. So let's dive right into it. What is question number 1? Why did you decide to study Enshu and not the more popular Urasenke? It's a very interesting question, because for most tea practitioners, choosing a school of practice is not really a choice. When I came to Japan 14 years ago and I got interested in tea and found someone who could teach me the tea ceremony, I was not aware of the fact that there were different tea schools. I didn't know of the existence of Urasenke or Motesenke, of the different styles that there are available. I just thought tea ceremony is one style and you just practice it and that's it. And only about 3 or 4 months in, after practicing Enshu, I realized that there were other schools who did tea ceremony in a different way. It was not a conscious choice. I just rolled into Enshu through the teacher that I chose. And in Japan that is very common. In Japan people might start tea ceremony at their school club and it just happens to be Urasenke. Or they find a teacher that they like and that person happens to be Yabunouchi or another style of school. So it wasn't a conscious choice. I rolled into it, but I do think that it was the right choice to stay with Enshu rather than saying I'm going to change to a different school. Because the Enshu school, it's a warrior style school, which sounds very fierce, but it's not that very fierce. It's very gentle and very elegant. The utensils that are being used in the Enshu school are very subdued in colors, very simple, and I appreciate that elegance and simplicity in tea ceremony. So my preference definitely goes to the style that is applied in Enshu school. What tips do you have for those developing their palate to hone in on nuanced flavors of tea? My greatest tip would be to drink a lot of tea. It's best to have a wide frame of reference than to focus down on single flavors and try to define them. Most often when we're talking about flavors and aromas, we are referencing previous experiences we've had with similar flavors or aromas. So being able to define and to discern flavors and aromas in tea to also depend on the previous experience you've had with different flavors and aromas. So very important is, what do different teas taste like? And the tea that I'm having at the moment, what other tea is it similar to? Is one approach. And then there's also, I find some bitterness in this tea. What type of bitterness is it? Because if you start fine-tuning and defining those differences in bitterness, those differences in flavor, in taste, then you'll have a better ability to remember the flavor of the teas you had in the past, and you will broaden your repertoire of skills and of being able to define and remember mostly the aromas and other flavors. Will you be writing more books? Good question. I wrote one book that is focused on Japanese tea, the story of Japanese tea. It's focused on, well, it's more of a manual of tea production and Japanese tea as a product in Japan. I have thought of doing another book more focused on tea ceremony itself, talking about the history, the culture, the purpose, the role of tea ceremony in present-day society. But it's a project that is probably going to take a while, and I'm currently not focused on working on it. I do have some ideas, some loose ideas, so I don't think there will be a book in the coming years, but who knows, 5 to 10 years from now, might have something else ready. Will the corona pandemic have an impact on this year's tea harvest? The biggest issue that we'll be seeing is that there's a lot of tea left from the past years. So wholesalers, they don't have a need for more new tea. Of course, everyone always wants the freshest tea. So there will be tea that is going to be bought, but the prices might be pressed down. Producers might have to suffer under it. And the biggest reason why sales are down at the moment is because also tourism in Japan is magnificently reduced. There is no tourism. I don't think there's tourism in any part of the world at the moment. But in Japan, tourists also bought a lot of tea to take it home as gifts. There's also a gift-giving culture in Japan where domestic tourists would buy tea and take it back home to say, for example, Tokyo, and give it there to their friends. So the domestic gift-giving culture is down at the moment. The international tourism is down, so there's no gifts and presents being bought by international tourists here in Japan. So to help that, I think that we as an international community of tea lovers could really help by just drinking a little bit more of Japanese tea so that we can raise that international consumption while consumption in Japan is down. So that's it. That's all the questions. Thank you for sending them in. If there are more questions, feel free to send them via email, on Instagram, or you could leave them as a comment below this video. Also, if you like this video and you like the content that I'm producing, because I'm a tea master, I have a tea store, but what I really enjoy doing is sharing this information and making this information accessible to you. So I will be continuing doing this and making more content, answering more questions in upcoming videos. So if you're interested in hearing more, seeing more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tick the bell to be notified of new videos in the future. So thank you for joining me in this Q&A, and I will be looking forward to sharing more videos with you in the future.